Okay, so I just found out. Well, I found out 13 days ago. I'll give some background first. Well, wait, let me back up. I just had a straight-up panic attack or some crazy shit. I was in the shower, and I couldn't stop crying and yelling and couldn't catch my breath for like 40 minutes. I had to consciously try to do anything to get control, count to 10 backwards and forwards, and through the nose. I was legit losing it. I was thinking though about the therapist I started seeing just this week, because of all this, and what she had said. She said take an hour each day to think about it, sit down and write if you want. You can delete it all when you're done, or some things you might read again and realize that's something you want to dig into more or whatever. And I thought of this support group, and how I could write to all of you and just get it out. So here I am, still shaking and on the verge of tears and wondering if I should go get a bottle of wine and writing to all of you. Background: my husband and I have been together for 15 years, married for half of that. We have 3 young children, 6, 5 and 1. Our life has been insanity the last few years. I work a high-ish profile job at a local university. It's demanding and challenging, and I am the breadwinner in the family. My husband is an EMT for a major city and works the overnight shift. His days off also rotate, 4 on 2 off, so his days off every week change. This means he's often not around on weekends or major events and some holidays. It blows. And I am often alone to take care of the 3 kids. Now, he does a lot. He usually does bedtime for the big kids while I put the baby down, and he often cooks dinner and washes his own laundry. And supposedly he's responsible for washing/folding our towels, which we never have any clean, does the trash and recycling, usually, fixes anything that breaks, etc. I basically do everything else. All the rest of the laundry, dishes, I do the grocery shopping, kids' clothes shopping and transitioning to new seasons, getting their school uniforms, lining up before/after school, finding camp for the big kids all summer, making their doctor and dentist apps and taking them to them, making the kids' school food and getting them up and out in the morning because husband is not yet home from his shift. I mean, you get the idea. I do everything. It's exhausting. But he also has a really hard job and has had some really traumatic experiences there with patients he couldn't save or having to report a family, and the kids saying, "You're not going to take us away, are you?" And awful shit like that, and that's not even the worst of it. These have all really weighed on him, and in fact I feel like this job has changed him even though it was his dream job when he started it 6 years ago. And it's hard to switch from nights to days to be with the family when you're off, and he was always tired and grumpy. Not really like the happy-go-lucky funny guy I married. Then add to it that for the last 2 years husband has been in paramedic school, which for a long time meant 2 extra shifts a week, 3rd riding as a student, in addition to his full-time job. Not to mention study sessions and other trainings. Oh, and COVID. This past year plus I was home super pregnant with a 4-year-old and 5-year-old, trying to get them to pay attention to remote school on Chromebooks and to do my job while also trying to keep the house from being a complete disaster and feeding them breakfast and lunch. I did get a wonderful long 2-month maternity leave after our youngest was born last July. My husband also got a lot of time off and used the opportunity to finish our unfinished basement, all on his own. We only have 3 bedrooms and the big kids share, and the small 3rd was set up as an office, which he needed for medic school. He has a background in construction, and he worked so hard and created an amazing playroom/office space for our family. Only called in an electrician for lighting and a plumber for heat. After that, I went back to work early so that I could keep 2 days off a week. My kids were supposed to be doing hybrid learning with 3 days at home and 2 in person, but that didn't happen until May in our school district, so I kept the 2 days off so I could cover their school that day and take care of the baby. We hired a nanny for the other 3 days, and that's all we could afford her for, because the first nanny we wanted to hire no-showed for her in-person interview, and when the next girl showed up I felt so desperate I just blurted out the highest we had said we would pay. I'm an idiot, doubt so. The nanny was a complete disaster. Sweet girl, but no experience with a baby, and even started fighting with the big kids. Although their behavior was out of control at this point, so it wasn't all her fault. She was just out of her depth. My son was struggling so much with the online learning on a screen, he was 4. Not healthy for him anyway. And so when the nanny started, we also started sending him to a local preschool program that also did gymnastics. It was 3 days a week, just 9 to 1, and the nanny would log my son in for his opening morning session with his public pre-K class so he would get attendance for the day. Then the nanny would stay with the girls while I dropped off our son and again later when I picked him up. The nanny didn't even have all 3 of them all the time and still couldn't hang. Eesh. So then the kids are struggling with the nanny. My son then starts acting out at his school. He flipped over one of their plastic tables and threw a chair and was acting up every day, and that teacher also didn't know how to handle it, so we pulled him out of the preschool. Disaster after disaster. Thankfully, right around this time the kids finally went back in person, and I happened to find out from my Hubans colleague that they were paying for employees to send their kids to the YMCA for remote learning there. We were so fortunate. Although I wish my husband had realized this while I struggled trying to work from home with the nanny. I was also able to extend my part-time schedule with a new FMLA law, although this time it was at a pay cut. But I am thankful to have had the time. I'd been 4 days a week up to the baby's first birthday. Once the baby started daycare and the kids were in school, it wasn't out of need for childcare anymore, but for my sanity. It is the only time I had without the kids. So great, I had this part-time gig, but also nothing really came off my plate at work, so I've been falling behind at work, barely keeping things together. Also started drinking more frequently because of the stress. Usually at least a bottle of wine each night after the kids go to bed. Now, my husband has always struggled with drinking too much. He's gone through periods where he stops for like as long as a year, but then he slowly starts up at it again, and soon it's out of control. We were both drinking a lot. He would drink before going into his shift at night. I kept saying I need to stop, and he was like, fuck it, why should we? Who cares? This has been the worst year ever. It's okay if we're drinking a lot. Not to digress, but this year I also totally let myself go. After I finish the wine, I usually drunkenly pig out on food before I go to sleep. And no exercise, not even walking, due to a torn labrum in my hip when the baby was born. Have finally been going to PT just the last couple months, which it's so easy to fit in 2 appointments a week, and it's not helping, so there's that. Constantly in yoga pants and an unflattering nursing top, barely was showering, no makeup or hair done ever. So here is how I found out. Husband had friends from college coming into town on a Thursday night. He was working the overnight that night, and then had the next night off. So he asked if he could go out with his buddies that day, and I said of course, I'll cover the kids. So he works the overnight, even sends me a picture of them meeting up somewhere downtown, him in uniform of course. Then he said they were going to meet up with his EMS buddies because I guess the overnight crew has a group that goes to breakfast Friday mornings. He texted me midday and said he was back at his buddy's hotel just sleeping for a bit, and that they were going out again after. I said awesome, have fun, I love you, be good. He checked in a couple more times throughout the day, sent a picture from dinner, said thank you so much, I owe you big time, and I said all I needed was a big dickin', sorry that's something we say, from him in return because recently our sex life had picked up again as the baby got older. But I asked him if he was planning to come home that night, or just sleep there. They had been drinking all day and I just didn't want to worry in the middle of the night if I woke up and he wasn't home yet. He said he'd probably crash over there. So fine. I said have a great night, I love you, I'm so glad you're out having fun with your buddies, because I knew how stressed out he has been lately too. He texts me the next morning, Friday, maybe around 6 a.m., to tell me he's alive and will be home soon. I think he got home at like 9 a.m. Now I honestly don't know why I did this, because it's not something I ever usually do, but when he was downstairs I checked his text messages. I was thinking maybe I'd find something wild or crazy he had done with his buddies, see what they got up to the day/night before. Not suspicious at all about another woman. I see a text from his old work partner Chris, last name, but it's spelled Chris, last name. So of course I look at it. It reads as follows, him. I'm going to put the breakfast club out there for tomorrow because I basically have a hall pass for the day. Her. That's fun. There's not actually that many people on that will go, Sue, selfishly, you could also come over and fuck me, plus it's